Imagine for a moment that you find yourself in a room shrouded in darkness, while a voice gently whispers in your ear, influencing every thought, every decision, every desire you have. It may seem incredible, but I invite you to stay with me until the end of this talk. What I am about to share with you could completely revolutionize the way you see your life and the choices you make. Mental manipulation does not present itself as an extraordinary, dramatic, and spectacular event, as it is often portrayed in movies. On the contrary, it is a silent and subtle reality that permeates our daily lives. It is that inner voice that dissuades you from pursuing a dream, suggesting that you'll never make it. It is the gaze of someone who, even without saying a word, makes you feel inadequate. It is in the advice that seems benevolent, but actually distances you from your true essence, making you doubt what you truly desire. Have you ever reflected on how many times you have uttered a yes when deep down in your heart you wanted to say no? How many times have you set aside your desires and needs to please others? How many times have you chosen to follow a predetermined path because it was the one everyone else considered right, while deep down you knew it didn't belong to you? This is not freedom. It is mental programming, a deep conditioning that originates in our childhood and develops with us over the years. As children, we learn that to be loved we must behave in a certain way. We must be good, not make too much noise, and not cause trouble. Growing up, we realize that our value is often tied to our ability to please others, to follow trends, and to avoid isolation. When we become adults, this conditioning takes root in us, becoming part of our identity. We begin to live lives that do not belong to us, uttering phrases like, "This is reality," "It's better not to risk," "I'm not suited for these things." But who really wrote these phrases in your mind? Are you sure they are truly yours? Every day we are bombarded by micromanipulations that influence our way of thinking and acting. A post on social media that makes us feel inadequate because we don't have the perfect body. An advertisement that convinces us that happiness is something that can be bought. A news story that selects which fears we should nurture. A friend who makes us feel guilty if we don't respond immediately. A partner who leads us to question our worth. All of this seeps into us, accumulating like an invisible weight, and molds us without us realizing it. Gradually, we stop distinguishing ourselves from what others want us to be. The most unsettling thing is that we begin to defend that false self, believing that those fears are truly ours, that those obstacles are right, and that those renunciations are signs of maturity. The sad truth is that we have become the product of a collective manipulation, and often we do not realize it. This process does not make noise. It does not present itself as a command, but rather as a whisper. It does not impose, but suggests. It does not crush, but convinces. Mental manipulation works most effectively in moments of fragility, when we are seeking love, approval, or comfort. In those moments, instead of listening to our inner voice, we turn to those who offer us certainties, even if they take us away from our true essence. I pose an uncomfortable question. How many of the people you associate with truly do you good? And how many, on the other hand, consume you slowly? Who listens to you sincerely, and who, on the contrary, speaks only to manipulate you? Who accepts you for who you are, and who molds you according to their own needs? The manipulator does not need to raise their voice to exert control. Often, they smile at you, make you feel special, and offer you security, but in return, they deprive you of your freedom. their most powerful weapon is guilt, which makes you feel wrong if you do not respond, if you do not agree, if you do not adapt. They lead you to believe that without them, you could not make it, slowly weakening you and convincing you that you are acting for your own good. And the worst part is that often the manipulator is not an external figure, but a voice that you have internalized over the years after having undergone conditioning. It is a voice that repeats phrases you heard as a child, that tells you that you are not worth it, that you are not capable, that you must stay in your comfort zone. And you, without realizing it, listen to it. I, too, have lived this experience. I believed for years that certain decisions were mine, that certain dreams were out of my reach, and that some emotions were wrong. But in the end, I understood that all these ideas had been implanted in me by others through education, family, and society. They had convinced me that to be loved, I had to be perfect, rational, and adaptable. Thus, I hid my true self, building a mask that initially protected me. However, over time, I began to suffer, to feel empty, and to lose sight of my true identity. It was at that crucial moment that I understood. I recognized that I was living under the control of mental programs that I had not chosen. I realized that my identity had been built on foreign foundations. My need to please others revealed itself as a trap. From that day on, I decided to unmask everything. I began to observe every thought, every reaction, and every choice. I asked myself the question, do I do this because I truly want to, or because it has been imposed on me? And do you know what the hardest truth to accept was? That much of my life I had lived in function of others, saying yes to jobs, relationships, and friendships that did not belong to me, allowing others to decide who I should be. But today, the situation has changed. Today, I choose my truth, even if this involves fears, even if it means losing consensus or being alone for a while. Because freedom has a price, and that price is awareness. Here are some signs that could indicate that you are undergoing invisible manipulation. You often feel guilty, even when you have not done anything wrong. You fear disappointing others, even if this consumes you internally. You feel confused after interacting with certain people. You constantly justify those who harm you. You have stopped trusting your feelings. You feel empty, but you cannot understand why. If you recognize yourself in these words, know that you are not wrong. You are simply awake, and waking up can be painful at first, but in the long run, it can transform your life. The power of those who manipulate you fades the moment you begin to see things for what they are. When you tell yourself, "This situation does not belong to me," when you start trusting your inner voice. Mental freedom is not a gift that is given to you. It is a conquest that requires commitment, and it starts right now. The next time you hear that inner voice telling you you can't, do not respond. Take a pause and observe. Ask yourself, is this voice really mine? Only then can you break the invisible chains that bind you and reclaim your freedom. Do not try to be perfect. Do not worry about being accepted by everyone, but seek to finally be yourself. Finally, I want to ask you to reflect on one last question. Have you ever had the feeling that someone was playing with your mind, but you couldn't prove it? I invite you to write your experience in the comments, because what you have lived could illuminate someone else's awareness. If this journey into hidden psychology has touched something inside you, I urge you to subscribe to the channel. Here, we tackle topics that many do not have the courage to address. This is only the beginning. True freedom is not simply about doing what you want, but about understanding who is really choosing inside of you. Embarking on this journey requires courage and determination, but always remember, every step toward awareness is a step toward true freedom. Life is too short to live according to the expectations of others. It is time to reclaim your existence, to rediscover your dreams, and to have the courage to realize them. Your inner voice is powerful and deserves to be heard. Let it guide you toward an authentic and meaningful life, free from the constraints imposed by a reality that does not belong to you.